Most people believe that building wealth is simply a matter of earning more money. That's one of the biggest financial myths ever created. In this video, you'll discover how real wealth is actually built, why most people never achieve it, and how understanding this principle could completely change the way you think about money forever. Let me ask you something honest. Think about the people you know who earn good money, a solid income, maybe even a great one. Are they wealthy, or are they just busy? Because there's a difference, a very important difference, that most people spend their entire lives never fully understanding. Earning money and building wealth are not the same thing. They never were. And the confusion between those two ideas is quietly responsible for more financial disappointment, more frustration, more years of hard work with little to show for it, than almost any other single misunderstanding in personal finance. This video is not about how to earn more. It's about something far more important. It's about what you do with what you earn, and why that, more than anything else, is what separates the people who build real lasting wealth from the people who simply work hard their entire lives and wonder why it never seems to be enough. Stay with me, because what you're about to understand has the power to change everything. Before we talk about how wealth is built, we need to talk about what wealth actually is, because most people have never stopped to define it clearly, and you cannot build something you haven't clearly defined. Ask most people what wealth means, and they'll describe a lifestyle, a big house, a nice car, vacations, expensive restaurants, things that look like wealth from the outside, things that signal success to other people. But here's the problem with that definition. Those things are the result of spending money, not the result of building wealth. And in many cases, the people who appear the most wealthy are actually the furthest from it, because they are spending everything they earn, and sometimes more, to maintain an image of wealth that is built on debt, not assets. Real wealth is something entirely different. Real wealth is not about what you spend. It's about what you own. More specifically, it's about what you own that works for you, while you sleep, while you rest, while you live your life. Let me give you the clearest definition of wealth I know. Wealth is the number of days you can survive without working. If you stopped earning income today, how long could you maintain your current lifestyle? A week, a month, a year, 10 years, forever? The answer to that question is a precise measurement of your actual wealth, not your income, not your lifestyle, not the size of your house, but your ability to sustain yourself without trading your time for money. And most people, if they're being completely honest, would not last very long. Not because they haven't worked hard, not because they haven't earned good money, but because almost everything they earned was spent on things that don't produce income, on things that don't grow, on things that exist today and are gone tomorrow. This is the first and most important distinction in building real wealth. The difference between assets and liabilities. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Most people spend their entire lives accumulating liabilities and calling them assets. A car is not an asset. It depreciates the moment you drive it off the lot. A house you live in is not necessarily an asset. It costs you money every month. A wardrobe, a watch collection, a boat. These are not assets. They are expenses. Real assets are things that generate income, a rental property that produces rent, a business that generates revenue, stocks that pay dividends, intellectual property that earns royalties, skills that command high value in the marketplace. These are the things that build wealth, not because they look impressive, but because they work quietly, consistently, independently of whether you show up. And the moment you start seeing the world through this lens, through the lens of assets versus liabilities, everything about how you think about money begins to shift. So if the difference between assets and liabilities is so clear, why don't more people understand it? Why do so many intelligent, hardworking, well-intentioned people spend their entire lives on the wrong side of this equation? The answer, like most important answers, goes back further than most people realize. We were taught a story about money, a very specific story, and most of us absorbed it so completely that we never stopped to question whether it was true. The story goes like this: study hard, get good grades, go to a good school, get a good job, work hard, get promoted, earn more, spend more, retire eventually. That was the formula. And for a certain generation, in a certain era, it worked well enough. Not perfectly, but well enough. But here's what that story never included. It never taught you what to do with what you earn. It never explained the difference between income and wealth. It never mentioned assets, or passive income, or financial independence. It assumed that if you earned enough, everything else would somehow take care of itself, and that assumption has quietly cost millions of people their financial futures, because earning more doesn't automatically create wealth. In fact, there's a phenomenon that most people experience, but very few people talk about openly. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it works like this. Every time your income increases, your expenses increase to match it. You get a raise, you upgrade your car, you get a promotion, you move to a bigger apartment, you earn more, you spend more. And at the end of each month, despite earning significantly more than you did 5 years ago, you have roughly the same amount left over, sometimes less, because your expenses grew faster than your income. This is not a character flaw. It's a predictable human response to increased income. And the financial system we live in is specifically designed to encourage it. Banks offer bigger loans as your income rises. Credit card companies increase your limits. Advertisers target you with products that match your new income level. The entire consumer economy is built on the assumption that you will spend what you earn and borrow to spend even more. And most people, without ever consciously deciding to, follow that path exactly, working harder, earning more, spending more, and ending up no closer to financial freedom than they were 10 years ago. This is the trap that the salary myth creates, the belief that more income automatically leads to more wealth, when in reality, income without direction, income without strategy, income without understanding, simply produces a more expensive version of the same financial situation. The car gets nicer, the house gets bigger, the lifestyle gets more comfortable, but the underlying financial reality remains the same: trading time for money every single month without end until retirement arrives. And by then, for most people, it's too late to build something different. Not because they lack the ability, but because nobody ever showed them what to build or explained that building something was even an option. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, because the mistake most people make isn't dramatic, it isn't reckless, it isn't the result of bad decisions or poor character. It's something far more ordinary than that. The mistake most people make is optimizing for income instead of optimizing for wealth. Let me explain what I mean. When most people think about improving their financial situation, they think about earning more, a better job, a higher salary, a promotion, a side hustle, and none of those things are wrong. Income matters. Of course it does. But income is only the first step. It's the raw material. What you do with that raw material is what determines whether you build wealth or simply fund a more expensive lifestyle. And most people, without realizing it, choose the more expensive lifestyle every single time. Not because they're irresponsible, but because the pull of lifestyle inflation is powerful and the rewards of wealth building are invisible. At first, you can see the new car, you can feel the bigger apartment, you can enjoy the nicer restaurant, but you cannot see compound interest working quietly in the background. You cannot feel your net worth growing. You cannot touch the financial freedom that is slowly, almost imperceptibly, building. And human beings are wired to respond to what they can see and feel, not to what is invisible and distant. This is why most people choose spending over saving, consumption over investment, today's pleasure over tomorrow's freedom, not because they don't care about tomorrow, but because today is real and tomorrow is abstract. There's a second mistake that compounds the first, and it's perhaps even more damaging. Most people save what's left after spending, instead of spending what's left after saving. Read that again. Most people save what's left after spending, which means in most months, they save very little or nothing at all. Because spending has a way of expanding to fill whatever is available. The people who build real wealth do the opposite. They decide in advance how much they will save and invest. They move that money first, before they see it, before they can spend it, and then they live on what remains. This single shift, from saving last to saving first, has more impact on long-term wealth than almost any other financial decision because it removes the choice from the equation. The money is gone before the temptation arrives, and what you can't see, you can't spend. There's a third mistake, and this one is the most invisible of all. Most people treat their financial life as something that happens to them rather than something they design. They respond to their financial situation. Rather than creating it, they pay their bills, cover their expenses, manage the month, and hope that things slowly improve on their own. But financial lives don't improve by accident. They improve by design, by deliberate, consistent, patient action, taken in a specific direction over a sustained period of time. And the people who never make that shift, from reactive to intentional, from hoping to designing, find themselves, year after year, decade after decade, in roughly the same financial position, despite working harder, despite earning more, despite doing everything they were told was the right thing to do, because nobody ever told them the most important thing of all, that building wealth is not something that happens to you. It's something you choose, deliberately, consistently, and with clear understanding of where you are going and why. There's a pattern, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Among the people who build real lasting wealth, not the people who appear wealthy, not the people with the biggest houses and the newest cars, but the people who have genuine financial freedom, the people who could stop working tomorrow and be fine. There is a pattern that repeats itself across different incomes, different backgrounds, different starting points. And it begins with a shift in identity, not a shift in behavior, not a shift in strategy, a shift in how they see themselves and their relationship with money. Most people see themselves as earners. Their financial identity is built around their income, what they do, what they earn, what their job title says. But the people who build real wealth see themselves as owners, not just of their time, not just of their skills, but of assets. Things that work for them, things that generate income independently of their presence, things that grow while they sleep, and that shift from earner to owner changes everything about how they make decisions. An earner asks, "How can I earn more?" An owner asks, "What can I own that will earn for me?" An earner spends their raise. An owner invests their raise. An earner builds a career. An owner builds a portfolio. And here's what's crucial to understand. You don't have to choose one or the other. The most effective path to wealth is to be both, to earn well and to deploy what you earn wisely into things that produce more than you put in over time. Now let's talk about what those things actually look like. Because wealth building is not abstract, it is practical, it is specific, it is real. The first principle that wealthy people understand is that time is their most powerful asset, not money. not connections, not even intelligence, time. Because time is what allows compound interest to work, and compound interest, over long enough periods, produces results that seem almost impossible. $10,000 invested at 8% annual return becomes $21,589 in 10 years, $46,610 in 20 years, $100,627 in 30 years, without adding a single additional dollar. Just time and the quiet mathematics of compounding. The person who starts at 25, invests consistently, and waits will almost always end up wealthier than the person who starts at 40, even if the person who started at 40 earns significantly more, because time in the market is worth more than the size of the investment. The second principle is that wealthy people pay themselves first, before the bills, before the expenses, before the lifestyle. A percentage of everything they earn goes directly into assets, not into a savings account earning 1%, into things that produce real returns over time, real estate, index funds, businesses, income-producing assets, and they do this automatically, consistently, without exception, not when they have extra money, because there is never extra money. They make it non-negotiable. The third principle is that wealthy people understand the difference between price and value. Most people make financial decisions based on price. Is this cheap enough? Can I afford this? Wealthy people make decisions based on value. What does this produce? What is the return on this investment? A $500 course that teaches you a skill worth $50,000 in additional income is not a $500 expense. It's a $49,500 investment. A $200,000 rental property that generates $1,500 a month in rent is not a $200,000 cost. It's an income-producing machine. Seeing the world through the lens of return on investment, rather than through the lens of cost, changes every financial decision you make, and over time, those different decisions compound into a completely different financial life. The fourth principle, and perhaps the most counterintuitive, is that wealthy people are not afraid of debt, but they are very specific about what kind of debt they use. There is a fundamental difference between debt that costs you money and debt that makes you money. Borrowing at 20% to buy groceries costs you money. Borrowing at 5% to buy a property that generates 8% returns makes you money. The wealthy use the second kind. The rest of the world uses the first, and that difference, sustained over decades, creates outcomes that look almost miraculous from the outside, but are simply the result of understanding a few fundamental principles and applying them consistently over time. Let me make this real, because principles are powerful, but stories are what change minds. And I want to share two stories with you. Stories that illustrate everything we've talked about in the most concrete way possible. Meet James. James is 42 years old, works as an engineer, earns $95,000 a year. By almost any measure, James is doing well. He drives a nice car, lives in a comfortable house, takes a vacation every year. His colleagues respect him. His family is proud of him. But here's what James's financial picture actually looks like. His mortgage takes $2,200 a month. His car payment takes $650. His credit cards carry a balance of $18,000. His savings account has $4,300 in it, and his retirement account, after 15 years of working, has $67,000. James earns almost $100,000 a year, and if he lost his job tomorrow, he could survive for approximately 6 weeks. James is not wealthy. James is income dependent. Everything in his life depends on that paycheck arriving every 2 weeks, and the moment it stops, everything stops with it. Now meet Marcus. Marcus is 44 years old, works as a teacher, earns $58,000 a year. By income standards, Marcus earns significantly less than James. But here's what Marcus's financial picture looks like. He owns a duplex, renting out one unit for $1,400 a month. He has an index fund portfolio worth $180,000, built over 12 years of consistent investing. He has no credit card debt. He has 6 months of expenses saved as an emergency fund, and his monthly investment contributions are automated. They leave his account on the first of every month before he can spend them. Marcus earns $58,000 a year in salary, but his assets generate an additional $28,000 a year in passive income. If Marcus lost his job tomorrow, he could survive indefinitely, because his assets would continue producing income. Without him doing anything extra, Marcus is not income dependent. Marcus is building genuine wealth. Now here's the crucial question. What did Marcus do differently? He didn't earn more. He didn't inherit money. He didn't get lucky. He made different decisions. Starting in his early 30s, when he read a book that changed the way he thought about money, he decided to pay himself first, every single month, without exception. He started small, $200 a month, then $400, then $600, as his income slowly grew. He bought his duplex not as a home, but as an investment, living in one unit and renting the other. Using the rental income to cover most of his mortgage, he automated everything, so that the decision to invest was never something he had to make twice. It happened automatically, every month, regardless of what else was going on in his life. And he was patient, extraordinarily patient. When the market dropped, he kept investing. When the property needed repairs, he handled it and kept going. When colleagues were buying new cars and taking expensive vacations, he drove his old car, took modest trips, and kept investing. Not because he was depriving himself, but because he had a clear picture of where he was going and the discipline to stay on the path, even when it wasn't exciting, even when nobody around him understood what he was doing, even when the results were invisible for years. And then one day, they weren't invisible anymore. The compound interest had done its quiet work. The rental income was covering his expenses. The portfolio had grown beyond what he once thought possible. And Marcus realized something that James is still waiting to discover, that the goal was never to earn more. The goal was always to need less from a job. Because when your assets earn more than your expenses, you are free. Not rich in the flashy sense, not wealthy in the showy sense, but free, in the deepest, most meaningful sense of that word. Free to choose, free to work because you want to, not because you have to. Free to walk away from things that don't serve you, free to build the life you actually want, rather than the life your expenses demand. That freedom is what real wealth actually looks like, and it is available to almost anyone who understands how it works and is willing to build it, one consistent decision at a time. So where do you actually begin? Because everything we've talked about is only useful if it translates into action. And I want to be clear before we go any further, this is not financial advice. What I'm about to share are not prescriptions, not guarantees, not instructions for your specific situation. They are principles. Principles that the people who build real wealth tend to understand and apply. What you do with them is entirely your decision. With that said, let's talk about where most people can start. The first step is the most important one, and it has nothing to do with investing or real estate or the stock market. It has to do with clarity. You need to know exactly where you stand, not approximately, not roughly, exactly. What do you own? What do you owe? What comes in every month? What goes out every month? And most importantly, what is left? Because that gap between what comes in and what goes out is your wealth-building raw material. It doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is that you see it clearly and decide, deliberately, what to do with it. The second step is to pay yourself first. Before the bills, before the expenses, before the lifestyle. Decide on a percentage of your income, even if it's just 5%, even if it's just $50 a month, and move that money automatically on the day your income arrives into a separate account dedicated to building assets, not to be touched, not to be spent, to be deployed strategically into things that produce returns. The third step is to start learning about assets, not obsessively, not anxiously, but consistently. One book, one podcast, one conversation at a time. Because financial education is not a destination, it's a practice. And the more you understand about how assets work, the better your decisions become. The fourth step is to think long-term, not in months, not even in years, but in decades. Because real wealth is not built quickly, it is built consistently by someone who understands that every decision they make today is either moving them toward financial freedom or away from it, and who chooses deliberately to move toward it. Even when the results are invisible, even when the process is slow, even when nobody around them understands what they're building or why. The fifth step, and perhaps the most overlooked one, is to protect what you build. Insurance, emergency funds, diversification. These are not exciting topics, but they are essential ones. Because wealth is not just about building, it's about protecting what you've built from the unexpected events that life will inevitably bring. And the person who builds consistently, while also protecting consistently, is the person who arrives at financial freedom and stays there. And if you've made it this far in this video, I want to say something directly to you, because it means something that you're still here. It tells me you're serious about understanding this, not just curious, but genuinely committed to thinking differently about your financial life. And this channel exists for exactly that kind of person. So if this conversation has been valuable, I want to invite you to subscribe. Not because of a number, not because of an algorithm, but because every week we sit down and have exactly this kind of honest conversation about money, about wealth, about the decisions that quietly shape your financial life. Hit subscribe, because every week we look beyond the headlines and uncover what's really happening to your money. And stay for the next few minutes, because the most important part of this conversation is still to come. There's a question that most people never ask themselves, not because they don't care about the answer, but because the answer requires a kind of honesty that is uncomfortable to sit with. The question is this: are you building something? Not in the vague, aspirational sense, not someday I'll get serious about this, not when things settle down I'll start investing, but right now, today, with what you currently have. Are you building something? Because here's what I've come to understand. Most people are not building, they are maintaining. They are managing the month, covering the bills, handling what comes up, and hoping that somehow, over time, things will improve. But maintenance is not the same as building, and hope is not the same as strategy. The people who build real wealth are not necessarily smarter than the people who don't. They are not necessarily luckier. They don't necessarily start with more. But they share one thing in common. They decided, at some point, in some ordinary moment, that they were going to build something, not maintain, not manage, not hope, build. And that decision, quiet as it was, changed the trajectory of everything that followed. Because once you decide to build, the questions you ask change, the decisions you make change. The way you see every dollar that passes through your hands changes. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "What does this cost me in future wealth?" You stop seeing your income as something to spend and start seeing it as raw material. Raw material for something that will outlast the moment, something that will work for you long after the moment of spending has been forgotten. This shift from consumer to builder, from spender to investor, from earner to owner, is the most important financial shift a person can make, and it doesn't require a certain income level. It doesn't require a financial background. It doesn't require perfect circumstances. It requires a decision, one honest, clear-eyed decision to see money differently and to act on that different way of seeing, consistently, patiently, over time. The wealth that James is still waiting for was always available to him, in the same way it was available to Marcus. The difference was never the income. The difference was the decision. And decisions, unlike circumstances, unlike luck, unlike starting points, are always within your control. Starting today, starting with the next dollar that passes through your hands, starting with the question, what am I building? And what is the answer to that question? Tell me about the financial life I'm creating, right now, in this moment. With every choice I make, this video is for educational purposes only. Nothing you heard here is financial advice. Every financial decision is yours to make, based on your own research, your own situation, your own judgment. That's not a disclaimer. That's a reminder of your own power here at the bigger picture. We'll always explore the financial questions that truly matter, not with fear, not with sensational headlines, but with honest conversations, clear explanations, and the bigger picture behind every story. Because understanding your money is the first step toward taking control of it. This community exists for exactly that, and we're just getting started. If this conversation meant something to you, share it with 5 people who need to hear it. Not because it's a video, but because financial understanding is one of the greatest gifts you can give someone. Subscribe to the channel, because this conversation continues every week, and leave a comment below. Tell me honestly, are you building something right now, or are you still waiting for the right moment to start? Because this channel exists for exactly that kind of honest conversation, and the next video is already waiting.